You've been listening to President Trump, who appeared via live stream at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And back with us to break down what we just heard, NBC's Kelly O'Donnell and Christine Roman. So, Christine, first, a lot there. Yeah. Any obvious fact checks we need to get out of the way?
Well, he's talking a lot about inflation in the United States. And just a fact check there, inflation was much higher in the 80s when Donald Trump was in his 30s. That was 14% inflation. We're back down to 2.9%. But the sting of inflation is one of the things that really got him into office. And he's pledging that his policies will lower inflation. He's asking OPEC to start pumping more oil to lower gas prices. He said oil prices. That would end the war in Ukraine. That would lower prices of just about everything. So you're hearing the president talk about his plans on a global stage. Also, he would like to cut, corporate taxes in the U.S. all the way down to 15% and saying to these countries and these companies, hey, make your stuff here and you won't have tariffs. You'll have a really low tax rate. Otherwise, we're going to fight back.
I mean, on the issue of those comments about asking Saudi Arabia and OPEC to pump more oil or saying he will demand interest rates drop globally, does he have the kind of power to make all of that happen?
So before they start trying to unpack a very simple statement that Trump has made, Trump is stating the obvious. All right. If you take certain economic actions, certain reactions will take place. It's a simple deal of supply and demand. If supply is low, demand goes up and the prices go up. And when the price of oil goes up, the price of diesel and all the byproducts equally go up. And also the price of energy goes up. And inflation happens because the price of goods and services that depend on energy equally goes up. But if Saudi Arabia pumps more oil, releases more oil into the marketplace, all right, there is a huge supply, all right, which exceeds demand, which reduces the cost of these things, and then it reduces the cost of energy, which in turn reduces the inflation on products and goods and services. So that's the simple thing. So he's not saying it as if he has the power to reduce inflation. He's simply saying these are the levers to pull in order to get these desired effects. Let's hear what they say about this question, because left-wing media always want to make it sound like Trump like Trump has an overestimated view of his abilities or himself. No, he's simply stating basic economic principles. Let's see what they say.
No, and next week the Federal Reserve of the United States meets, and it's mostly expected.
So she says, no, he doesn't have the power to do that. Like I said, that you're all asking the wrong questions. And when you ask, I'm trying to keep it very calm. When you ask wrong questions, you get wrong answers. I'm going to say something else, but I'll stay calm. Let's keep listening.
To not lower interest rates because inflation is still too high in the U.S. So there is a potential conflict budding between the Fed and the presidency. But you're right. You heard the president say he will bring down inflation. He will have OPEC. He will ask OPEC to start pumping more oil to lower oil prices. And he wants the Fed to lower interest rates and the rest of the world to follow with lower interest rates as well. These central banks are independent.
Now, He also clarified, because I listened to the speech, he clarified during the speech that there's a sequence. Okay, no, I think that was yesterday. There's a sequence to these events. When the price of energy drops and inflation is under control, then interest rates should also drop to allow people, be able to borrow from the bank to go into the market and to create new things and have the market, thrive. So, yeah.
Independent. They are made to be independent away from politics and the vicissitudes of who is in and who is out of office, so that they're just looking at the economic.
The Fed is part of what is called the administrative state. So when you have people like that, now what she's trying to say is that the Fed should be separate from politics. But the truth is that you can't have the Fed not answer to anyone. Who do they answer to? Do they answer to Congress? Do they answer to the Senate? Do they answer to the president? Do they answer to the Supreme Court? Who does the Fed answer to? So if she can answer that, or if they can answer that, then it will give the Americans clarity about how the Fed works. But so far, the Fed seems to have been operating as Ronin, as people who have no leaders. They are leaders unto themselves, and that is dangerous for the American people.
So we'll see what that fight could be in the days ahead.
Do any of his executive orders at this point bring down inflation?
He's got a memorandum of understanding that asks for all the levers of government to focus on lowering costs for consumers, but it doesn't order trucking companies or a grocery store or anything in the pipeline to lower prices.
Yes.
It's mostly,
which is what Kamala was going to do.
Symbolic, setting the stage that this is a priority in the government.
And it's a priority because when all of the branches of government cooperate with these economic principles, then inflation goes down.
And Kelly, he really seemed to throw the kitchen sink into his opening comments and throughout, really. He brought up the action on the southern border. He talked about transgender rights, which, again, we should do a quick fact check because he said transgender operations, which have become the rage, will occur very rarely. They're not the rage. We're talking a very, very small group of gender affirming operations.
Oh, now it's a small group. Well, they speak of these things like everyone is having them. So now it's a small group. Yeah.
Operations that are taking place every year. But why bring all of that up at this forum?
And when someone says it's all the rage, it doesn't mean that everyone is doing it. It means that people are touting it as being this great groundbreaking way of solving a certain kind of problem. Everyone is talking about it, and it has to be one of the solutions that the government has to fund, and so on. So that's what he means. I expect the media to be educated in language, but I believe that they know what he said, and they just twist the words to make it sound like he said something else with the commentary that they are giving.
What was he trying to accomplish here?
Well, this is very typical for President Trump.
Meanwhile, let me know in the comments section what you think about these so-called fact checks, because now they're trying to hear the Americans back to say, look, he's still the same Trump we warned you about back in 2016 and 2017. He's still the same guy, so it's typical. They're desperately hoping that the American population who followed their content would continue to believe their narrative about Trump.
He uses the bully pulpit and a megaphone.
Oh my goodness, bully pulpit. The same speech I heard.
And makes it an opportunity to talk about all the things that he thinks are important in terms of policy. And
no, he was voted in. I'm gonna be interrupting these guys because they pack in a lot of misinformation. They accuse everyone else of misinformation, but they're the ones that trade in it the most. They pack it all in and they hope we miss it. One, he was very cordial in his speech. He was very firm, which is what a leader of a country should do, right? And then she's trying to make it sound like he's... Anyway, let's keep listening.
Culture and the things that he thinks got him elected. And
oh, come on. Who's this woman? Kelly O'Donnell. Well, Kelly, he repeated these promises on the campaign trail. That is what got him elected, not what he thinks got him elected.
Give him the base of support that he enjoys, especially in these early days. A lot of those issues have nothing to do with the group that is convened in Davos, the results of the election that he went into. That's not relevant to them.
It is, because most of those guys there are the proponents of a lot of the woke ideology and all of the DEI and ESG policies that have been shipped over to other countries. It comes from Davos and the WEF.
today. So some of this is just the style that Donald Trump brings to his world stage moment. Notably, he talked about wanting to meet with Vladimir Putin right away. That is a stark and important statement because Vladimir Putin has been exiled in the world community. He is not at the major meetings of world leaders. He is not speaking by phone to many of the world leaders.
No, they don't reach out to him. I mean, you see how they put all of these things in one rant. So it's almost like everything is connected and related. No, talk about each one. Let's hear you. And I'm going to pick this apart. When Trump came into office the first time and Obama was warning him about North Korea, Trump asked Obama, has anyone called the leader of North Korea? Obama said no. So no one is talking to him, no. And he's suddenly this really dangerous guy who might start World War III. Yes, okay, fine. And then Trump does what? He picks up the phone and meets with him, and they all panicked. How dare you talk to him? How dare you give him the validation of speaking to him? That's what you do with people you are in potential conflict with. You communicate. You don't block them out and say, look, we're not going to talk to you because you're someone that we think is evil and wicked. You communicate with them to ensure that that the conflict does not escalate into physical violence.
Because of his war in Ukraine. And so to reach a point where he would get parity with a U.S. president in a meeting, something that Putin would want very much, is a very notable thing. Perhaps it is the best way for President Trump to use the influence he would have to bring about an end to that war. If he chooses to have that kind of a meeting, and soon, as he described it, that's very notable. He talked about his relationship with President Xi of China. That is critical for the competition and the global positioning of the U.S. and China, especially when you consider that China has an ability to show aggression to places like Taiwan. So many of these things are about projecting his influence, trying to get leaders to capitulate, to go along.
America. President Trump represents America. It's not his influence. He is speaking for the American people. He has the American mandate to speak. He's speaking on behalf of the American people, and the American people have to back this up. It's a show of strength. America is now being seen as a strong country, and they're going to take you guys seriously now. So it's not him trying to exert his influence. Don't let the media sway you into believing that when Trump takes any action, he's doing it for himself. All right. Remember, these politicians work for you. And so when they try to make it sound like, oh, Trump is just doing it for himself, well, as long as he was voted in and given a mandate, he's doing it on behalf of the American people.
To see his point of view, that whole range of things. He throws a lot at it, hoping he can get some concessions or some negotiations that benefit him and the United States.
Kelly O'Donnell and Christine Romans, thank you, ladies.
All right. They went there. They did a few things, and I've given my reaction to them. Well, mainstream media has not changed, and I'm going to continue thanking them for giving me content to speak about and not making all of this boring. I was concerned that after the elections things would get really boring, but mainstream media have not learned their lesson, and I'm here for it. Let me know what you think of my reaction and what you think of this clip. Don't forget to use the link in the show notes to take advantage of the free Audible account that I am making available. You use the link to create a free Audible account and listen to my recommended books. My top book is Dismantling America by Thomas Sowell, about all of the horrible policies that have been put in place to systematically destroy America. And YouTube believes that this video will be a great one for you to watch next.